At the film, and Gary pulled me into his office around Christmas time and said that he had this conversation with Bob and Steven earlier in the year and asked about my availability, and he said I wasn't available and didn't tell me about it because he didn't want to hurt, make me upset. And I said that's fine. He said now that they need you to replace the actor they hired. And he gave me the script in an envelope. He said read the script. Tell me if you want to do it. And I picked up the script and I kind of went like this. I'm like, that's the best script I ever read. But like 2 weeks later, I was in a parking lot in Pomona,
Puente
Hills with flames running through my legs.
Now, back at the beginning, Leah, when you went in for Lorraine, to read for Lorraine, I mean, obviously, it was a no-brainer for young Lorraine. Beautiful, perky, lovely woman. But I think part of what got you the job was your interpretation of the 47-year-old Lorraine. And where does somebody at your age at the time come up with that inspiration? How do you channel that character?
I think I made like a composite of my grandmother, Riva, and my best girlfriend when I was growing up, her mother. And for some reason, I just really understood the character. And I mean, of course I read the part and I was like, this is the greatest part ever. Because actually the young Lorraine was actually really hard to play. You might, at the time in the 80s, it was hard to kind of come up with that kind of innocence and that kind of horny innocence of the 50s. It really was. I mean, it wasn't really me. I don't think.
This is chase horniness.
Yeah, just the horny. That was easy, but the innocent part was hard. And so the characters were, incredible, and I just felt so in touch with both of them. I mean, it was a lot of work, but I don't know how I got the part, but...
You were damn good.
I wanted to hear that.
And if I remember correctly,
that Eric Stoltz wasn't quite making it. Nobody told me that. I don't think anybody knew there was going to be this sudden transition. And then about 1 a.m. in the shopping mall in Industrial City, we gathered for lunch, our 1 a.m. lunch, and then everybody was told to come to a certain place. And Spielberg was there, and other people in the suits, and Bob Zemeckis got up and announced that this change was being made. And I was stunned. I had no anticipation. And my first concern was very self-centered. I just thought, I struggled to make my scenes work for 6 weeks, and now I have to go back and hope that I can match myself for another 6 weeks. That was my biggest concern. But Michael stepped in, and I just felt there was a chemistry that was never had to be worked for. In all 3 episodes, when we were together, it was all there, And,
Because we weren't all there.
We were well matched.
We were both insane.
So, things clicked in the way that I wasn't aware that there was anything lacking, but then I realized this was a good move.
I know you probably have an order to this. I don't mean to jump in, but I want to say one thing about Chris is that there's a thing in the film business and in storytelling called exposition, where you have to get out the facts. If it's a fantasy film, you have to say these are the rules. That this is how this is going to work. And it's really thankless stuff. I mean, nobody wants to get the pipe. No one wants to get the pipe. No one wants to lay the pipe and get all the exposition out there and get all the explanations of how things work and the rules of the film. But Chris did that brilliantly. He made it an art form. He made it like, this model is crude. And I was just astounded. I was just saying, this guy lays pipe and it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. He's a genius at it. And that's why the film worked. Ultimately, because there were so many rules you had to understand and so many nuances that you had to pick up on. And because of Chris, we all got it. We all got it. It swung to us in an entertaining way, and it was just brilliant. And I'm amazed by it.
So Michael, in that parking lot, you know, the few days before they had dressed you and shaved you and
I
done
was gonna do a big film, and I was gonna do Back to the Future at the same time, and my family has at the same time, and she said, "Well, it's too much. You're gonna wear yourself out." I said, "Mom, forget about it. I mean, I'm doing this," and then I just threw myself into it, and I didn't have time to really think about it too much because I was doing both shows and sleeping 3-4 hours a night, and it just was a blur.
And Leah, much in the same way as Chris, the last scene that you had done with Eric was also the first scene you did with Michael, with Marty waking up in young Lorraine's bedroom. What was that like in terms of the transition?
Well, it was such a different scene, and they were kind of talking about using some of the coverage. Sometimes they would use the coverage that you already shot with Eric, and that was really upsetting to me because it was such a different experience acting with him than it was, you know, that scene was a completely different scene. So I think I convinced them to shoot my coverage. Yeah, most of my coverage was all done. And, you know, it was just, it was amazing because what I find interesting about seeing the movie is the different styles of acting. Like, we're all very stylized. There's none of that kind of like super hyper naturalistic acting that was maybe more popular coming from the 70s. We were all very stylized, and Eric was trying to do a different style that just didn't match. And so when Michael came in, he just like clicked in so beautifully, and all the comedy just worked so beautifully, and it had been really kind of hard, you know what I mean? It was like, ugh, you know, and you could feel that, and so it was really kind of interesting to do the same scene with two different actors completely.
I'm cheap and easy. That scene, doing that scene with you was one of the highlights of the movie for me. That you were so amazing with the way you just came forward, and it allowed me to be in my underwear and scramble around and be freaked out and make the connection, and you just, I mean, I do all that work and I come back to you and you'd be there. You'd just be there pressing Lorraine, coming at me. And it was magical. It was just so great. I loved it. I mean, I didn't think about the styles of the different actors. I mean, there's so many good actors, Tom Wilson, all this, everybody, and I just kind of said, this is great, because wherever I turn, someone's going to give me something to work with, because they're all so brilliant.
Okay, well, we're going to fast forward.
I was just hoping we had a good opening night.
Yeah.
And that it had a decent run. And looking back on it now, it's
This is
phenomenal that we're all sitting here talking about it. You know, like it just happened yesterday.
And Michael, you apologized for it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I was in London doing Family Ties Goes to London, which was an epic. and the movie's opening in the States, and there was a screening for it, and I got a call from my agent who said he just saw the movie. My first instinct was, I said, I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. I was out of my element, and I didn't know, and he said, no, trust me, it's good, you'll like it. And then I came back after it had been open. I didn't go to the premiere. I was completely being chased by Meredith Baxter around London, and I came back and I went by the Cinerama Dome one day, and there was lines around the Cinerama Dome is a big theater in Hollywood, and it just lines around the building, and I just thought, wow, my life is going to change, and it did. It was massive.
Your life had already started to blossom. Alex Keaton was no slouch.
But there's a different thing that belongs to you. I mean, you own it, and it's just something I'm grateful for every day that I'm allowed to do what I do because these guys let me do it, and thank you.
So not long after the movie came out, Universal came back and said, we'd like to do maybe part 2. What do you think? And I think Bob and Bob said that they would only do it if you guys would do it, and the sentiment was returned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And remove all this makeup at the same time by catching it like down here, and as I'm talking, lift it so that it comes off in one piece. And if it didn't work out, then I'd have to go back to makeup for another 2 hours to have it all reapplied and redo it again. And miraculously, it worked in the one take. And I didn't
Well, you know, I could sit here for hours talking to you guys, but they don't care out there. And we want to give them a chance to ask you questions. So before we do, though,